Last week, we had a fantastic podcast, in case you missed it, on fathers, father power, our own dads. And so I thought it would only be fitting for this Sunday to be Mother's Day if we could highlight and talk a little bit about our moms. But specifically, you know who's on my heart right now is Grandma Florence. I think that since we use this podcast to reflect and share with our children for posterity a lot about family stories and things like that, I would love for you to maybe tell the kids about Grandma Flo and about her work that she did. I know that I mean, maybe even go back as far as she had a brother who had tuberculosis, and so they moved to New Mexico, and there was something to do with like making lace or the crocheting. I think that in the tuberculosis wards they would do anyways, please.
What I didn't really understand, and I actually talked to my grandmother, Mavis is her name. She lives in Albuquerque. I talked to her about 3 months ago about this, and I asked her, I'm like, tell me the story again. I want to see if there's anything that I can pull. And apparently, I think it was Harold. I think her brother's name was Harold. This is my mom's brother. I think it was Harold or Hal. I can look it up on the Mormon thing.
Ancestry.
Yeah. But I guess he was an adult. She had already graduated from college because
wasn't she like the first female to graduate college or one of the first classes?
It was early. She graduated in 1930 with a 4-year degree in music and music theory. From the University of Wisconsin in Madison, which is where they had been. So she was 22 at that point. And my great-grandmother had a goiter. What's the motivator for going to college in 1930, some might say, right? And you don't really need to define that, but almost
she was post-married age is what you're trying to say.
Most everybody. If
maybe
you're 18,
she wasn't quite the looker
and you're not 18, a looker and you
go to college,
have a goiter,
back then.
College is for you, right? And she was very smart, very, very smart. So she went and she studied music, and over time her goiter went away. She just grew out of it, or I don't know if it's. I think
it's food related somehow.
Is it food related?
Yeah. She probably changed her.
So she changed her diet, and her goiter went away. But before it went away, she was able to graduate from university at 22, and her brother, who was a couple years older, I had thought he got tuberculosis and went to Albuquerque to try to get better. He went to Albuquerque to save his life. He was down to about 1/3 of a lung.
Oh, wow.
1/3 of one lung. So 1/6 your normal capacity. And the rule in the house was, don't make Uncle Harold laugh.
Aww.
Because he'll pass him to cough. He'll pass out. Yeah, he'll cough and pass out. And so it was really stoic, really but then they'd go outside and they'd be with their friends and they could play and laugh and all that stuff. But that was really hard on Grandma because I still remember her laugh. It was a lot Grandma Carol's laugh. She would just.
Okay, quick side note here. Great. Grandma Flo, who we're talking about, loved Scottish. Was it whiskey or Scotch? It was Scotch. She loved Scotch. Yeah. And she would say she would get a little wee droppy. And I can just remember the stories of her being in a wheelchair with the plaid blanket when they were traveling through Scotland, and she'd have
half a case of scotch. She'd have her
scotch under her blanket, and she'd be like, trying to get it through security. I don't know. They didn't even have security, but duty free when there's nothing here.
Yes.
Move
along, officer.
Got her scotch. Yeah. But nobody knew.
But
she was so sweet.
Grandma Florence was born in 1908. She was my great-grandmother. So if I was born in 1974, she would have been 60, 65 or so. And she was born on February 29th.
She was a leap baby.
Aww. And so that was always kind of a claim to fame, that she only had a birthday once every 4 years. And when she was 80, she was really only 20. And she moved to Albuquerque with her family as an adult after graduating from university because she wasn't married at the time. And she met my great-grandfather Carl down there. And Carl had gone to work for my great grandfather's oil business, which was the Ralston Oil Company, which would start with a single gas truck in, I want to say, the 30s. And he made his money during World War II when the Air Force Base down there.
I couldn't remember the story. Did he have gas stations or just the truck?
He started with a truck, and then he would run it, and then my grandpa Carl would run it on the off hours. So they'd do 12-hour shifts. So they'd run 24 hours of running gas to make sure the planes were fueled, and they'd make whatever, 5 cents a gallon, 3 cents a gallon. And they'd ship, 1,000 gallons, and they'd make, 3 cents a gallon. So $30, I guess that'd be, right? On $1,000. And they'd take that and they'd use that to pay the loan off on the truck and pay the mortgage and feed their family and all that stuff. But they had work during the Depression when nobody else had it because they were selling a commodity. So it's a lesson to everybody out there that, look, if you're going to have a recession-proof business, or if some aspect of your business is going to be recession-proof, it needs to be a commodity. What's a commodity? Something that is boring as sin to
toilet
to
paper.
Tell somebody. Toilet paper, fuel, grain,
Band-Aids,
soap, cosmetics, something that's just something that you gotta have. People are never going to stop buying laundry detergent. They're never going to stop buying dish soap. They're never going to stop buying lipstick and concealer. They're going to buy those things forever. So those are the commodity businesses that are effectively pretty recession proof if there's something that the masses can buy. And they did. And so if you look, she was born in 1908, and then we fast forward to probably 1930 when she graduated. I think she moved to Albuquerque in 1930, and the getting was good, right? The Depression had just kicked in, but because of where Albuquerque was related, folks, you got to understand, economic booms happen in cities, economic troughs happen in cities. But when you are outside of major metropolitan areas, you don't feel the economic booms and busts nearly as much. And Albuquerque was one of those places. I think my mom said when my grandma moved to Albuquerque, there was less than 50,000 people in Albuquerque. Now, Albuquerque's got 600 and something thousand now.
Wow.
So it's 15 times the size that it was. And so we have my great grandma and then my grandma that was born in Albuquerque, moved from Wisconsin, and then my grandfather, who I think I've talked about in earlier, came out on the train when his mom was trying to get to Tucson, and they couldn't get out of Albuquerque because of the troop trains in 1940. So by 1940, my grandfather was 10. My grandmother would be like 5 or 6 because she was born in Albuquerque, but they couldn't get to Tucson because all the trains were going west with troops on them. They were contracting with the railroads. The military was.
What I love about Grandma Flo is I got to meet her, and she had a vision for as long as I can remember her talking about it, that she would get a picture of 5 generations. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in your 20s and you maintain a vision that someday you might get a picture taken with 5 generations of your family, Grandma Flo made it to her 90th birthday, and we had just had our oldest son, Jeffrey, in 1998, right? Like it was 1998?
Yep.
And we went to her birthday party, and she got that picture with 5 generations. So it was her, your grandma, your mom, you, and our son. So we have a picture somewhere. She has it had it of 5 generations, and that kept her going for quite a long time. It wasn't very long and after that she actually did have a stroke.
I actually never saw her again.
Yeah, we never saw her after the birthday party. But I just remember her being 90. It was the first 90-year-old person I'd ever really seen. And she was bouncing Jeffrey on her lap, and she was laughing, and she was fit, and she was mentally all there. And it was definitely an testament to having a vision that he who, has vision will not perish, but grab a hold of it.
Yeah. And I had, I grew up in California, and my mom was from Dallas. So her whole family was from Dallas, and her grandma was in Albuquerque, Florence. My dad was from Pennsylvania. So his dad was living in Pennsylvania, and his aunt or his sister also lived in Albuquerque. So I had aunts and uncles in Albuquerque and Vegas and Dallas and grandparents in Albuquerque and Dallas and Pittsburgh. But I didn't have any family nearby.
In California.
No,
Yeah.
nowhere close. My stepmom had family and we would go see them, but I didn't count that
Yeah.
because, to me, that wasn't my family and I didn't really like her and I didn't really like her family. So those are just people that my dad is related to by marriage, and I'll be civil, but I wasn't going to be nice. So, so if you look at the country, and I will draw a map of the country. There it is, it's a beautiful map of the country. When I graduated from high school, my dad gave me about $500, and I think I had $200 saved. And on less than $700, I embarked, which relative to inflation, that's probably like $2,500 now. I mean, that was plenty of money, because I remember doing the math. I'm like, it's only going to cost me to do 10,000 miles in a car that gets 40 miles to the gallon.
And folks who are listening to this 20 years from now, today gas was $6.67 a gallon in California.
Yeah.
So
And when I left for Pittsburgh, sounds amazing, but when I left for Pittsburgh from San Jose in June or July of 1993, I filled up for gas and it was like $1.08 a gallon. So when I did my calculations were 10,000 miles divided by 40 miles to the gallon gives me 2,500 gallons of gas. Or no, 250 gallons of gas. And at $1 a gallon, and it was cheaper in Texas. Like, it was less than $1. I'm not that old, but I have paid less than $1 a gallon of gas when I got to Texas. It was $250 for gas, and then I figured $250 for food with a $200 buffer. What could go wrong, right? I could be on the road for 6 weeks without a cell phone, and I had $40 in dimes so that I could call people from a payphone, which was...
And you had Rand McNally.
And I had good old Rand.
I remember. That was a book.
I had good old Rand McNally.
You were so... You were so cool. You didn't even have the folding maps. You had the book. You had
It was a road atlas.
The road atlas that you. I mean, it was like a 15 by 15.
It was.
It was mud.
It was big.
It was huge.
It was probably, I want to say, 20 inches by 15 inches.
It was huge.
Anyway, if you go look at a Rand McNally road atlas and they use your finger or a knife or a quarter as a, you can see. And that lived in my, I mean, it practically set off the seatbelt alarm in the passenger seat. Yeah. That thing was so heavy. But I set off and I did San Jose to Las Vegas was day one. And then I stayed a few days in Vegas and water skied with my aunt and uncle. And then I did Albuquerque was day two. And I stayed for 3 or 4 days with my grandma on the way out and 3 or 4 days with my grandma on the way back. And we went to museums and we went out to eat and we played cards and just did all kinds of cool stuff. Went to the desert and drove around and looked at cool stuff. Went up to the foothills of the mountains and looked at the valley of Albuquerque below. I had a great time with her. And I'll tell you, I probably 90% of the memories of my grandparents were from that 6-week trip. So if you are a teenager or if you have teenage kids if you're listening to this and you have teenage kids, I would encourage you, if you can get them to take a summer and go spend time with their grandparents and their aunts and their uncles. My great-grandmother's passed away. My aunt is not able to be seen. She's in a home right now. Another one of my aunts has passed away. Another one of my aunts is divorced and out of the family, and we don't spend time with her anymore. My uncles are both still alive. My grandfather's passed away, and my other grandfather's passed away. So basically 60% of the people that I saw on that trip are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of those people, half the people that are gone, that was the last time I ever saw them. Mm-hmm. And I was 18, and I remember I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I don't know where that crazy drive or ambition to do that, because it was a lot of work. It's 10 to 12 hours a day on the road. I'm eating, corn nuts, picking my teeth with a pocket knife and eating corn nuts and burning gas and listening to worn out country music tapes and.
Well, I think that your family, with your granddad being an airplane pilot and your mom traveling as much as she did growing up, you really have, and then introducing you to as much travel. You've been a very free-spirited family, and you've always been a big advocate for travel, just period, whether it's by road or train or airplane.
I really like to travel a lot.
You like to travel, and there's a very it's dignified. Like the way that you travel is that it's never a chore. It's always something that the upper class would do, or it's something that people that are world class would be able to travel and to see new things, taste new flavors, try new foods, go to new locations, even if they're, the Paducah, Kentucky. It's traveling. It's getting out of what you're used to and going out and being exposed to new and exciting things. So it doesn't surprise me that of all the people that you would say, I want to get in the car and I want to go someplace.
I love it.
I'm your chicken strips and fries girl. I'm like the same meal every single time. The same, you gotta shake me up to get me out of I don't even know it's a rut that I'm in. I just have a habit trail and I like it. But that was a big thing that I think was really as attractive as it was for me to you, was that you were more like, hey, I don't have any resources, but we can go do this thing. We can go have this fun experience. And I'm like, what? How do you do that? How do you travel with no money? How do you go to restaurants and can't afford to eat? Like, I know. But you're like, yay, we'll make it. We're going to go out. We're going to make it happen. And that was what was.
We did. We figured out how to make a bunch of stuff happen.
Cool thing.
I remember going to the Esplanade.
Oh yeah.
Which was that a restaurant or a hotel?
It was a restaurant.
The Esplanade Hotel in Portland on the river, and we'd go and we'd literally split a piece of cheesecake, and we couldn't have been. I mean, you maybe were 20. Probably. Papa Haydn
a lot.
We did that a couple times.
We went to Brasserie
Montmartre. I know, I just looked that up. Do you know that place opened up and closed down 3 times?
Oh, wow. Is it closed now?
It's closed now, yeah. I think COVID was like the nail in the coffin. But that place had live jazz and French food and black and white tile floors.
It was great.
And crayon pictures on the walls. And they have a Wikipedia page for Brasserie Montmartre. Awesome. And it's been out of business for 5 years.
Well, that was something that, we always encourage anyone who's newly... I mean, again, Jeffrey, our oldest, he has lived now in Virginia. He lives in Hawaii. Joseph's been to Bali. He's been to Norway. He took us 6 months in Norway.
He did. He went to Norway and Sweden both.
Yeah, I think that our children have also understood that the power of possibility thinking is a key factor in getting to be able to enjoy your life and being able to do new things and try new things. And I love talking about our parents and our grandparents. My grandma's mom came over from Idaho in a covered wagon, and they came in a covered wagon when they were going through westward expansion and
1890s.
And to be able to have that story of her being in the back of a wagon and coming over with her family and being able to pass these stories down from generation to generation. What was the thing about the bath?
She got to take a bath?
Oh, that was my aunt. I have her old journals, and she was talking about how first of all, I think it was that same entry in her journal. She's talking about how she had to borrow a pencil because, they only had like one pencil. And so she had to borrow one from school to take it home. So that just shows you like how limited not that because they didn't. It's just you just didn't do like you didn't have a you just didn't buy a box of 24 pencils. Like you had your pencil and you sharpened it down to the nib because that's all they made. Everything's handcrafted back then. But she was talking about how she got to take a bath that day.
Yeah.
And just like
She'd
how
never,
thankful.
like she'd never taken a bath until she was like
she'd
13.
she'd taken baths, but she didn't get to take a bath with her own water because they would.
That's right.
Because she had siblings, and you're like,
But
if
she was
you're
in the city and they had plumbing.
Yeah, it was
versus
like
putting the water on the stove.
Yeah, it was like I think everybody was gone and she was able to take her own bath. And it's interesting because it was still in that time frame, it wasn't a nice bathroom, and she's like writing in her journal how she dreamed one day of having a white bathtub in a white bathroom. And I'm like, that's like every HGTV right now is white bathrooms with a white clawfoot tub, and that like she's dreaming and 100 years ago.
In the 1880s?
Like 100 years ago about like having a bathroom with indoor plumbing that's a white bathroom. But it's very cool to be able to see where we came from, to be able to look and to have. I was talking with Madeline on our podcast. If y'all haven't tuned into that yet, that's YouTube channel is Evergreen Fridays, and we drop new episodes every Friday. But we were talking about the difference between religion and ritual, like tradition. And when you have when a tradition becomes religion, someone gets offended when they miss the experience. For example, if you have Thanksgiving every year at your house and somebody can't make it and they get offended, that tradition became a religion, and that's not where we stand. What we're
not
hoping
talking about being
to
disappointed because your favorite uncle doesn't show. We're saying like offended.
Right. What we're talking about is having regular traditions, regular ritual. We always talk on the podcast about being able to have ritual restoration periods, like being able to reconnect, being able to have practices which say like every Friday we're going to have lunch, or every Sunday we're going to have Sunday dinner. If we can, every night at 6 we have family dinner. These are practices that if they cross the line to offense, end up becoming religious, and that ends up becoming heavy-handed, and offenses end up happening. But when it's just a beautiful restorative tradition, then it becomes something that can be celebrated, something that can give you energy, something that's done in love, and there's no offense taken if somebody can't make it. And so a big part, and why I'm talking about this even, is the fact that when you have family, when you have grandparents, when you have moms, and you have a holiday like Mother's Day coming up, Mother's Day becomes religion when it's a heavy-handed, everybody's got to do something for mom. It's chore day, it's painting, it's whatever mom. It's like I find it unfortunate when kids don't even want to call their moms on Mother's Day because of the guilt trip that they're going to experience, which is another part of it becoming religious practices. But when you let go of all offense...
Guilt is the other side of religion.
Right. If you let go of all of the offense, and if you can come at it from love, then you can really enjoy Mother's Day, and you can really enjoy Father's Day, and you can have it happen every year, and you can get to celebrate the people that really do mean the most to you.
Yeah.
Because they have such a huge part in your life experiences. The fact that you did go travel across the country because your mom and dad inspire you to be able to travel, specifically your mom being able to be so excited about traveling and exposing you to being able to go and see all these beautiful places and talk about, from an educated standpoint, Hawaii and the tropics and all of these beautiful places, and be able to go. I know your mom is a really good person to be like, yeah, that sounds great. She's a very good yes and person, especially when you come up with ideas for things.
Yeah, totally.
And so to have her in your corner and to be able to celebrate Mother's Day.
When you think about your parents, I talk about this a lot, but never underestimate the power of slowing down. Sometimes I'll just get in my car and I'll just drive up and down Stevens Creek Boulevard for hours. And I go slow. And I stay in the right-hand lane or the middle lane. I'm not trying to go fast. People are screaming around me, left and right. No problem. I'm just cruising, relaxing. But just when you spend the time just being present with whoever you can be with in your family, it's a beautiful thing to create a moment in time. I still remember the first time I was ever present. I was 16. I was going on a train. And I was coming back from Texas on a train, and I stopped off in Los Angeles, and I had like a overnight layover. And I remember I if you've never been to the train station in downtown Los Angeles, it's at least it was when I was a kid. It was beautiful, Southwest style, like Santa Fe Railroad style. They got one like that in San Diego too. It's just gorgeous. But the one in LA is a beautiful train station. And I remember, I still remember putting my hand up on the tile wall and just looking at it and just admiring the smooth texture of the tile and the fact that I had time to just sit and do nothing. Just allow my mind to be bored. I didn't have a cell phone. I mean, folks, we talk about that quite a bit. I didn't have a cell phone, I think the first cell phone I had was when we had the apartment cleaning business, and I almost couldn't afford it. It was $170 a month for 600 minutes. And the phone, or maybe it was like 100 a month. But 100 a month when you're making 2,000, that's a lot. I mean, that's like as much as I spent on fuel in a month.
Yeah,
just to have a cell phone.
You didn't have unlimited minutes either.
I couldn't. 600
no
minutes.
Collect calls
I
or
could do 600 minutes and
long distance
3 calls.
Yeah.
The way I talk. But I remember being at that train station, just being very relaxed. I'd been on the road for a couple of days from Texas, coming back to see a friend. And I had my hand up on the wall, and I was just admiring the architecture and the smooth texture or lack of texture on the tile, and just being at peace with where I was at. And I think the more that we can get into that state when we're with the people that we love, the better opportunity we're going to have to create the kinds of memories that will last a lifetime. I remember one time I was, it was on that trip, the last time I saw my grandma and spent any real time with her, because I saw her on her 90th birthday party, but we saw her in 98, but the time that I'd spent with her was in 93. So she would have been 85 and I would have been 18. And she taught me how to play cribbage. And man, that's a tearjerker because I just loved playing cards. 15-2, 15-4, 15-4, 15-6. Pair is 8, pair is 10, pair is 12. And
this man can rack up the points. We were first married. He had me playing cribbage too.
I remember one time, the highest hand you can get in cribbage is 29 if your jack matches the suit of the up card. And I got a 28.
We got to teach the kids how to play cribbage. The boys would love it.
I had 3 5s and a jack. I was dealt 3 5s and a jack, plus I think you're dealt 6 cards if you're just playing 2s, and then you discard in 2, and then you end up with 4, and then the crib has 4. And I had 3 5s and a jack, and a 5 came up. I could not believe it. And she says, she was like not jealous, not mad, but she was like pretending to be mad. She said, I have been playing cribbage for 60 years, and I've never had a 28 in all my life. And the jack didn't match. Otherwise, I'd had a 29. And I remember that it didn't. I remember that the jack was black and that the up card was a red 5, is either a diamond or a heart, red 5. But I just ended up with a 28, and I mean, all the way around the board, those pegs were moving, and I beat her a couple of times, but she was very good. And she had the Hershey's miniatures in this little glass, maple leaf glass. And you think about it, like, who keeps a candy dish at their house when your grandparents,
Jo did the same thing.
when your grandkids are not there?
She had mini.
It was for me.
The
it was
mini.
for us,
She
right?
had the little mini Halloween candy, little bite snack. They're not snack size, whatever, the little mini size.
Yeah.
Snickers bars. She had little Snicker bars and little in the pantry.
Ours were the Hershey's miniatures, the old Hershey's miniatures, when you had the separate aluminum foil from the actual paper. I mean, you had to work to get into those things.
So I don't have any grandkids yet, but I'm taking note. We gotta remember. We gotta have
there will
a
be a
candy
candy
jar.
bowl, 150%. There'll be candy bowl and ice cream for the
Oreo
grandkids.
cookies. I don't know what it is. Oreo cookies too.
150%.
My grandma was all about vanilla. Last thing, vanilla ice cream, plain vanilla with the Hershey's syrup in the can. Do you remember that where you had to crack open with the bottle opener, the two sides so it would pour and
Either that
over
or
that.
condensed milk.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and sharing the Jeff Heilman Project. Those of you who are listening and not watching via YouTube, what are you doing?
What is wrong with
Go get on YouTube and like and subscribe because we have a brand new set. Andrew's been changing the lighting and making the sound. I mean, this is a top tier podcast.
We're trying to be a good place to do recordings.
Absolutely. And I know you want more. So let us know. Leave a comment.
Are we at 150 episodes, Andrew?
Not yet. We're at like 140. I think this is
so
149.
close.
149. Okay.
And with your help, we'll get to 500 subscribers.
I would love
Almost there.
Oh, we're
Tell
almost
your
there.
friends.
Yay. Tell your friends. Thanks, guys. We love you and have a good one. Talk to you later on the next Jeff Heilman Project. Bye-bye.
See ya.